of the internet. Thank you for accepting being recorded. This is the 2024, which the Fathers of the Internet have designated as the 50th anniversary of the Internet. And so there is a lot of activities going on for the 50th anniversary. And one of the activities will be held at the Stanford University Memorial Hall on May 19th. And it's a major event by the IEEE celebrating the triple milestones. Three historic milestones will all be celebrated on May 19th at Stanford. And if any of you wish to actually attend, we expect it to be a hot ticket. And so you should alert us, and we will make sure that you can get a seat. It is not, it's really amazing. We have the celebration of TCP Internet, then the IEEE standards 802, which is the Wi-Fi standard, and then the PageRank Google 25th anniversary. All three will be celebrated at the same time, at the same place, at 1 p.m. at Stanford Memorial Auditorium on May 19th. And then on the 20th, May 20th, we'll have the dedication of replicas of all the different historic markers at the different places these things are invented. All of them as duplicate will be put and dedicated at the Internet, at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View. So there's lots of reasons to come to the San Francisco Bay Area in May, between May 17th and May 20th. May 17th, SRI Xerox PARC will be celebrating the invention of the Alto, Ethernet, and the laser printer. So these are major, major milestones of our current era. And the May 17th is by invitation only, but May 19th, we will have 1,500 seats. And so it will be possible for people to attend. But if you want sort of VIP seats, you have to go through the people-centered internet. Is Nelly on?
Yeah, Nelly, it's here. Nelly joined us.
Okay, Nelly, over to you.
I'm also here, Maylin.
Thank you. Thank you, Maylin and Snyder, and very nice to see you, everybody, after, I think, quite a long time. And I apologize for being late. Actually, for very, I would say, timely reason, we had our board meeting for Estonia's third AI white paper and action plan, and it went a bit overboard, so I had to run quite a bit. But as usually, I have perhaps a little bit summarized what has kept perhaps myself busy, but I believe also many of you in this past months, and I'm very glad to to tell that many of these aspects we will be touching also this session, even though I do have to admit that the first time, or the person who introduced me to the concept of AI for digital public infrastructure was Maylin. And we will hear more about the AI for digital public infrastructure this session. But as you know, the UN AI advisory body midterm report came out in December, and actually the very first consultation was held still this month, the beginning of this month, in Slovenia at the UNESCO AI ethics summit, where the midterm report was, I believe, officially first introduced and also discussed, still only with government stakeholders, but there will be 3 more consultations to follow in Geneva, in Singapore, and one country in Africa, which I believe has not yet been announced. So we are looking forward, and I encourage also everybody to follow these consultations and discussions. But as you know, also at the same time, US has proposed its AI resolution, the AI UN resolution, and I believe this will be closed also in the coming days, if not today. So there is a big AI year for coming, and it's quite big of our agenda. And I'm very grateful for Meilin and Snyder, who have put always this great agenda together. Of course, the second topic, and we will also hear about it today, is digital public infrastructure. Several initiatives have been introduced. Tech Envoy launched the DPI Safeguards initiative together with UNDP, and I know that we have UNDP here today, even though another line of talk, and we will soon have more activities around creating a sort of a good framework for the DPI in different streams, and definitely it seems that DPI is not yet vanishing from our digital sphere. But I do not want to take more time. I know that other people have always a lot more to say than myself, but I'm very glad to introduce Kayan Peiris from the UNDP, and really look at how we can all support AI in AI transformation in different countries. So, Kayan, if you are here, yes, I see you are here. The floor is yours.
I am here, Nelly, and thank you very much for having me again. In fact, this is the second time I'm presenting. Just to pick up from where you left off on digital public infrastructure as well, we are very much involved in creating those safeguards, the consultation process that is happening right now, and also coming up with frameworks for things like, for example, data governance as well, like a global data governance framework in the context of digital IDs. So there are many conversations and consultations happening at the global level where UNDP is involved in digital public infrastructure. But today I'm going to talk about engagement in AI. Let me get my screen up for you. I can really quickly share my screen. You can see my screen now? Perfect. So, colleagues, my name is Kayan Peiris. I'm the head of data and technology with the Chief Digital Office of UNDP. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our digital strategy in the context of AI, because I think that is important, that is fundamental to the way we work and the initiatives that we have. We have a long-term vision for digital to be an empowering force for people and planet. We have a set of principles which are core to the work that we do on AI as well. Now, I'm not going to read all of them, but I want to focus on the first two, which is about putting human rights at the core of everything that we do and taking a very inclusive and a gender-sensitive approach that leaves no one behind, which is fundamental to the AI work that we do. And what you see on the right is the digital development framework, as we call it. And we don't just look at one sector alone. We look at connectivity, we look at people, we look at economy, regulation, government, all of this while having inclusion at the center of it, inclusive digital transformation at the center of it. And we use the same framework for AI as well. We call it our whole of society approach, leaving no one behind approach. And also we have the people and inclusion at the center of it. And also understanding of risks as well. We see a trend of governments being very opportunistic, especially during COVID, to deploy certain solutions, to actually taking a very risk-aware approach. And we help governments in understanding those risks that comes with technology, it comes with AI as well. And we have the geographical footprint, obviously, over in 170 countries. And we use that footprint to bring everyone, all the actors to the table, especially private sector and civil society, which is extremely important in this AI conversation as well. And our strategy have three key objectives. I'm not going to focus on the green one, which is operational, mainly UNDP focused, but really the ones in blue that you see, digitally enabled programming and empowering digital ecosystems. What we mean by digitally enabled programming is UNDP is present in many areas, in governance, crisis and resilience, in gender, in health. What does AI and digital mean in their programmatic area? So part of our one objective of our digital strategy is to ensure our workforce is enabled with the digital technologies, with the AI technologies in their programming work. And the second area is the empowering digital ecosystems. Like I said, governments earlier moving from that opportunistic to more risk-aware approach, they are also moving from that siloed approach where the health ministry would run away with the vaccine equity system, or the transportation ministry running away with one, to really having a digital ecosystem where DPI, the digital public infrastructure, is at the core of this, so enabling rest of the environment to innovate on top of it. So we work directly with governments in building those digital ecosystems. So where does our AI support come in? I think Nelly explained the global process that is already happening, and the interim report, which was really great, that was released very recently, and we know the consultations are happening, and UNDP is very much part of providing input into the interagency processes that we have that feeds into that AI advisory body that Secretary General has. So we are plugged into all of the internal processes that's happening, including providing a white paper on some of the UN existing instruments as well when it comes to governance. And we believe AI is a force multiplier for sustainable development at UNDP. We work on building the right capacities through research and digital infrastructure, and also digital upskilling. And also we help governments, we contribute to responsible and ethical deployment guidelines aligned with the SDGs. And also we prioritize ethical considerations and especially diversity when it comes to AI development. We have some emerging thinking around AI along what we call DEEP. We all love a great acronym in the UN. So it is about democratizing and demystifying AI to make AI more accessible, and empowering people with tools and mechanisms to work with AI ethically and responsibly, and also foster innovation and collaboration around data and algorithms, because we believe data is at the core of this AI revolution, and obviously to protect people, put human rights at the center, respect the UN Charter, to protect individuals and ensure responsible use of AI. So our thinking is, our framing is around these four categories. What are we doing on AI? Now we have engaged with governments on many areas of AI, all the way from government AI preparedness, from doing gap analysis to actually doing strategy development, to building capacity, AI literacy of civil servants to deliver AI to actually also help with societal level transformation as well in training and skill building programs, and also ensuring some of these global frameworks that are coming, including the data governance, privacy and security frameworks, the AI framework, when we have it, AI governance framework, are translatable at country level as well because of our ground presence. And also explore and experiment as well. Obviously, we are lucky we have the accelerator labs as well in many countries, dedicated capacity in over 70 countries to experiment, to research, to act as a sandbox with the government as well when it comes to human-centered AI productization. So we work in all of these areas. And our starting point is actually strategy setting. We take a very productized approach when we deal with governments. We have certain products that are that we partnered with certain alliances like the Digital Public Goods Alliance, and with ITU on our joint facility on digital capacity, with GIZ on the Data to Policy Navigator. So we have in digitally enabled programming and digital ecosystems, we have a very productized approach. But we start all the way from an assessment, whether it's a digital readiness assessment or an AI readiness assessment. I'm going to dive deep into the AI readiness assessment we have. But before going there, I have to say we have already in over 14 countries, we are working on DPI, Digital Public Infrastructure, which is fundamental to getting the digital ecosystem right for AI deployment. In that context, we do the AI readiness assessment. We have Anir here from Bangladesh today presenting, which is one of our biggest success stories of UNDP. I will deep dive into AI readiness assessment a little bit now. This was developed as part of interagency, UN interagency working group, and we co-lead the assessment work stream on this. Now, this is it's built on the AI ethics that was consulted and agreed by UNESCO and ITU, and it is built as to assist government both as an enabler of AI and as a user of AI. When it comes to AI, we believe government and digital as well, governments don't have to innovate themselves. You create the enabling environment, let the ecosystem innovate for you. The AI readiness assessment, we call it a hybrid assessment because first we do desk research on a country, what is available out there. Then we do a survey among different stakeholders, not just the government, private sector, civil society, and others that are involved in a country. And then we do a workshop with the government, bringing these other stakeholders as well. So it's a hybrid assessment. The output of this is not a 180-page report. It's a very quick action plan. Now, this is where you are. This is your AI landscape. And these are few actions that we recommend that you can take, which will take you to the next level, which is we have categorized into basic, opportunistic, systematic, differentiating, and transformational, depending on the data we get through this hybrid assessment process. And we say, okay, you're at this systematic process, but you can get to transformational process by doing these activities. And those activities will look like something like this along that framework that I described earlier, along infrastructure, government, regulation, business, and people. So you need a data strategy here. You need a data governance framework here. You need a culture of innovation. So we suggest a few things for you to leapfrog from one stage to another stage that you desire. That is our approach into AI readiness assessment. We've already conducted the AI readiness assessment in 3 countries, and we are now learning from those 3 experiences and revising the AI readiness assessment as we go along. And using that, we are building a capacity development program as well for civil servants and a societal-wide one. Let me stop there for questions. And once again, thank you. I'm honored to be a part of this discussion. Over to you.
Thank you, Gayan, very much. I'm wondering whether anybody in our team has a question. I think Maylin.
Thank you. It's really wonderful to see the AI readiness, and I want to say that I am also listening about AI readiness from the Singapore side. They have a AI for SME portal, and I wondered about possible collaboration between UNDP and the AI for SME portal, which is an initiative of the Global Partnership for AI, in which 28 countries are already involved. So just letting you know that there's this opportunity for collaboration.
Thank you for bringing that up, Mei-Ling. In fact, we have a center in Singapore as well, so we are pretty much open to collaborating on that. Like I said, we intentionally stopped at 3 countries because we want to go back and see what is available out there, so bring back the experience into revising the AI readiness assessment that we are doing. So pretty much open to it. I'll definitely write to you on that one.
Yeah, thank you. As I don't see yet.
David Kirkpatrick.
Yes, David and Dorothy, please. David first and then Dorothy.
Thank you. Okay. That was a great presentation, Gayan. I'm curious if you all are focusing on one thing that I have found extremely intriguing. It is an early indicator of how transformational AI might possibly be. I mean, there is a view that's kind of especially prominent in the open source AI community that we could be headed toward an era where individuals have personally trained AIs for things like personal tutoring, personal education, which, if it were possible and really were to come about, would clearly be a globally transformational reality. I'm just curious what your thinking is about that kind of rhetoric and whether it's something you really think has some merit.
David, my opinion on that is I think the world is moving towards that way that way as well. In fact, it is one of our it is embedded in some of the assessment questions that we are doing as well to see what the government thinks in the direction we are going. Like you said, like personal AI, this will be extremely useful. This is where I think personally AI will be transformational as well. Someone with a condition like ADHD, for example, not just having a personal sort of trainer or personal tutor, but personal tutor based on millions of other data points, learn from it and have a very personalized tutoring for me, which can transform my education sector as well, providing that level of personalized education or personalized tutoring. So I think this is where the future is going, and you raised an important point there, David, and with that comes many risks as well on what how to govern this properly. I think getting those fundamentals right. I'm so glad the UN is taking a very proactive step in establishing this high-level advisory board to come up with those governance process, because I think AI is moving in that direction of personalization, definitely. I don't want to even mention what is available right now on this part of the world, where we have so many personal assistant devices right now, where I can talk to my device and play the songs. It knows my taste of music. Netflix knows my taste of videos. So personalization, hyper personalization is going to be the future, I think.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. So as Yolanda Martinez from ITU cannot join us yet, we have a good opportunity to continue the discussion. So I see Dorothy Gordon and then Heinrich as next. So please.
Thank you, Nele, and thank you, Gayan, for an excellent presentation. I really enjoyed it, and as a former UNDP staff, I'm just thrilled that we are doing something so useful and positive. I wanted you to expand a little bit more on procurement. You're talking of how we are building capacity to actually create and use AI. But at the same time that's happening, we have the procurement of ready-made AI systems by governments in order to fulfill certain levels of interoperability, et cetera, et cetera. How much training are you doing in terms of them being able to manage that kind of thing? And then the other dimension, which is very interesting and just came up for me, well, not really just came up, but it's assuming a greater importance, is the environmental cost of AI systems, that people are now looking seriously at the kind of software we need to implement in order to measure this better. So if you could comment on that, thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. I tried to comment on both of them, but like Nele said, this is a discussion. So if others have an opinion on that, please feel free to jump in as well. Anir, from your experience, especially on procurement, government level procurement, if you want to jump in, please jump in. My quick comment is we are already working with governments on this when it comes to digital, like making sure you're not vendor locked. The privacy of people, data sovereignty is considered. So we have 10 digital principles where going beyond basically do no harm to actually identifying some of these privacy risk when you procure, what data it uses, where that data lives, and the type of outcomes or outputs it produces, whether you maintain human agency in that as well. So AI is not making decisions, rather AI is assisting a human who or a group that makes the final decision. So those things, when it comes to governments not obviously having that capacity internally, just going ahead and procuring that system from a vendor, and the licensing models, the IP, who owns the IP of that, we at the digital level, we are already engaged with governments on getting assisting them in procurement of digital assets, especially digital systems. And this is one area we are expanding on to provide that level of support for AI systems as well. So that's on procurement. Environmental cost, absolutely. And we do have a energy and environment team in UNDP, and that team is now working on advising governments of the environmental cost that comes with it as well. The other day I learned that the amount of power that is required to generate an image on ChatGPT is equivalent to like one image is equivalent to charging your mobile phone one whole time. So you can imagine the amount of environmental impact this has as well. So once again, open to discussion, but we are very proactively, our energy and environment team is very proactively looking into advisory services around this area to governments as well.
Yes, we are into interesting discussion. So
Thank
Heinrich,
you.
and I see also Steve, and we are lucky to have this few minutes before we go on to Lina and actually continue the discussion on AI. But please, Heinrich.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, the trick is to come up with sustainable Gen AI solutions in the end to make sure that we do the right thing here. I have two short questions. One is, I'm just curious, how do you select the countries that you actually go to with your AI readiness approach? I mean, do they volunteer? Do you think they could do with some kind of advice from our side? And the second point was, oh, I forgot my second part. That's stupid. Okay, I'll leave it with the first part.
Henrik, it's good to see you again here as well, and looking forward to meeting you in person very soon as well. Thank you for that question. In fact, we've been, for the AI readiness assessment, we've been very selective because, like I said, we are still in the process of fine-tuning this. We were very selective in our country selection process to select an LDC, select a middle-income country. So we look at different contexts there as well. But generally, we work through the country office, us being a headquarter team, we see the type of request our country officers receive are different based on the maturity, digital maturity of the government as well. Sometimes the requests are on data governance, basically, or simply having a strategy or maybe a cloud strategy for the government. So the discussions are at a very basic level. And sometimes the discussion, especially in middle-income countries, the discussions are about data privacy and personal data protection. So the discussions level vary. Naturally, we work on demand. So we are very much open to governments coming in, and if they want to have the AI discussion, the first starting point will be that AI readiness assessment that we do, where we assess the landscape and provide with certain recommendations.
Remember the second part of my question, sorry to just add it. It's very much a moving target. I mean, things are possible with Gen AI today that have not been, let's say, imaginable 2 years ago. How do you go about? Because if it's moving so quickly, it might make governments a bit nervous or unsure what to do as a next step if the development is so fast. How do you, let's say, make them more steadfast in their policies?
Thank you, Henrik. In fact, which is exactly why the AI readiness assessment, I said it's an iterative process, because things are moving so quickly as well. We cannot have a static assessment that we do in 20 countries. In 2 weeks' time, it might be completely obsolete because that's the pace of things happening. But what you can do, though, is getting the fundamentals right, especially when it comes to data, to ensuring that there is a data governance framework, there is a data governance strategy, there is a data strategy, and where people's privacy and societal level awareness on some of the issues that comes with issues like cybersecurity, cyber hygiene as well. So what we are telling governments is, yes, focus on AI, focus on how to utilize AI, a very risk-based approach, but there are these fundamental things that needs to be in place regardless, basically, because the pace of AI is crazy. So getting those fundamentals right for governments is, I think, is important. So no matter what pace it develops, if you have those fundamentals right, you are in a better position to tackle those issues.
Thank you. We don't want to miss Steve Crocker. So please, before we move on to our next agenda.
So this is fascinating. I saw an article that said, don't use Google to find the customer service number of your airline. And then it went on to detail how fake information is showing up at the top of the list. So I was thinking, well, why not have an AI program that's operating on behalf of the user that is accumulating information and knowledge about where problems are, so that I could imagine that if I were sitting looking for a customer service number and that came up, this AI tool would intercede and say, and sort of advise me that I'm getting the wrong answer, or ask me if that's what I wanted, and so forth. How much discussion? So that's a very, very specific, but the general idea is applying AI for protection as opposed to for generating fakes and taking advantage of people. How much discussion of that sort taking place at the policy level?
In fact, that is one of the biggest sort of areas that we handle, this being an elections year as well for EU. That is one of the misinformation and disinformation is one of the biggest areas we are going to, we are already tackling, and we have an information integrity team in UNDP under the governance cluster. And we already have few solutions when it comes to misinformation as well, called iVerify and eMonitor. Once again, doing capacity, especially in the context of elections, we have a solution called iVerify, where a team goes in and build the capacity of in local independent media to detect and flag misinformation. Then we use AI to do the initial triaging of majority of information that comes in, and also we create a tip line as well, so people can report on certain things and get a status on whether that is not just black and white, true or false, but because something that is true today might be false tomorrow, or something that is false today might be true tomorrow, to get a sense as well on from a spectrum of being very harmful to true, get a status of that post as well. So there are initiatives happening at an initiative level happening already, but at a policy level, the team is working on dialogues with governments on create and making interventions at policy level. Just to add to something you said, I don't know if you have seen in Air Canada had a chatbot, and it was telling customers about a refund policy that didn't exist, and in fact Air Canada had to honor it now because the chatbot just invented the refund policy.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a massive issue moving forward.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you everybody, and thank you so much, Gayan and everybody. We will now move to Lina Zuluaga from Colombia, who will talk about AI for public digital public infrastructure. So, Lina, I hear you. See you are here, so please.
Hi,
And
everyone.
I'm sorry, I hope we have also, if there is somebody who has a question or anything, I hope we can have some time also later to continue our discussions. But thank you so much, Lina.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here. Be honored to be sharing with Steve, one of the founders of Internet. One of my papers when I was studying in the US was checked by BinSurf, so you might know him. So I'm super excited to be here. So just this quick sharing. I'm part of the OECD. We in Colombia were vice chair for the Artificial Intelligence Governance Working Group of the OECD. We were able to last year also make the full hemisphere of America. We made the United States to Chile to vote to bring the conversation to the Organization of American States to update what was going on artificial intelligence and all the work we were doing at the OECD, and also bring something that I think is really important on these times, which is to focus and to collaborate together as countries on this issue, mainly on, we voted a decision on building infrastructure interoperable for open data, specifically on agriculture and climate. Because what we feel in Colombia is that the next pandemic or the next challenge that we need to face, and we need to be ready for that, is how we build resilience for food security in the context of climate change. So we feel that when you think about how AI can support a global strategy to shorten the asymmetries of information that are in the food supply, and how we can also support at the same time the weakest chain on the food supply, which is the farmers that in part and mostly in parts of the world even disconnected. So you start thinking that the most ethical thing to work and to collaborate using artificial intelligence is to support that. I'm here now in Barcelona in the Mobile Congress. So I've been very excited and on see how things are moving so fast in terms of, for example, we did last year in Colombia the auction of 5G, but we are working this year in the ministry to work with satellites to reach those rural areas and to connect the disconnected. But then the point is not only connectivity, is how that connectivity help us bring with artificial intelligence and connect all the services that governments have to, and the offer that the government can bring to those people that have been disconnected and also underserved. So we feel that this is a huge opportunity for us. On the other side, we are also very aware, and my background also is in mass media. So I worked 9 years for a publishing group, a political magazine, very influential in Colombia. And we had to lead the transition of this content, very high level curated, like all my colleagues were highly educated. Every article was written by several hands, really well thought. So the planet some years ago was consuming good data with good content. And but now the business changed, not because of the artificial with the Googles and the Facebook at the time. And so I raised the concern at the OECD to all the countries, and especially on these conversations on the risk management and risk assessment on artificial intelligence that is moving at the European Union. And the alert is we had already a full industry that was harmed for artificial intelligence. That industry is also an industry that is essential for the conscious making, no? For humans. I think it's a survival need. As we drink water to keep ourselves healthy, that like the body, we need to consume news that are trusted, information that is trusted. Otherwise, the planet entire will become like in a species of schizophrenia, not knowing what is true. And then I think that all the mental health problems, all the fights in the planet are also part of that we are in certain way manipulated permanently by these engines, and I think we as countries we need to move it's ethical that we need to move and collaborate and have this conversation. As I remember, a very wise man said last year at the AI for Good, the meeting, the summit that is organized by the ITU, and he said, let's have this conversation with the very few that manage the data of the entire planet, the very few people and the very few companies. So we need to have a conversation, constructive. There are very good things that we receive for the evolution of technology and in that wave of AI. But at the same time, there is this missing part that we cannot keep going in a world when we cannot trust information, we cannot trust people, and we cannot trust transactions. So the third part of what I want to give you as a takeaway of also my experience here during these days with all the community and the industry is that it's good that I'm seeing that there is a full movement on the industry building something that is called digital identity as a service. So we as citizens can keep the information that we trust, our information, and some industries like banking industry and telco industry are industries that we trust. And if we take advantage of that trust that is being built during years, and we start owning our data, and then we can charge for our data, but also we can decide my data can be shared with these people, this other, and we can empower also people and provide and change or at least level the playing field in terms of this is the money that someone, even a poor person or a farmer, can make sharing some of their data. So that could be a game changer. And I'm very glad that here I found some hope, because in different countries I can notice that the technology is already there, and obviously the regulators, we need to like take advantage of that. So I think it's a lot of hope. Yes, and that is like as a summary, a little bit of what we're doing in Colombia and the things that we're bringing from different parts of the world to connect in Colombia and move these ideas further.
Thank you. I am wondering, David, you have your hand still up. Do you think it is also good to step in now for you?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
lowered
I
it
think
and I raised it back up. So I put in the chat with you a couple of questions I have for both Gayan and Lina. So what I guess the elephant in the room with AI, there's a couple of things that all the world concerned with. One is hallucinations with AI. Okay, that's hallucinations. And so that those are things like when your AI might say I love you, and you want to get rid of your wife, for example. And so the thing is with that, that's a danger throughout. So it's a way of how that's being addressed. And number two, I have three questions. Number two, for Gayan, with the UN, how is it directing or addressing ethics? Because I'm an IEEE standards associated with ethics. And so one of the things we're looking at, and also for blockchain, member of that, is ethics and how it could be applied across the board so that everybody can, as a guideline, apply to ethics, and how we can minimize the kind of like the people are posting here, the $34 million that was stolen. And then with Lina, third question, sorry, a lot of questions. The Petro administration, how is that in Colombia doing to support for infrastructure and getting things going? Are you getting a lot of cooperations from that administration for Colombia? So first question, sorry about that, a lot of questions. I was holding back. So again, the first question is for both of you. Hallucinations, how is that being addressed? Or I'm sure you're aware of it.
Yes, thank you for your question. So yes, so hallucination as an analogy is the threats for scamming that the bank system is living and is increasing, because I've been attending a lot of the mobile payments because my background is also in financial inclusion. So the analogy on the scamming, when you have this artificial intelligence created to say the things that are not true, is the same that when someone is scamming you, when someone is calling you and saying something and you provide. So the real way to address that is this thing that I found, that is the digital identity as a service, which is like we need to start moving to a world in which, when we are in the physical world, we know that if I start hitting someone, the police will call me. Someone will call the police, and the police will come and get me. You're gonna be 3 days in the jail because you are like doing something against someone. In the digital world, that is not happening. People are screaming, doing, and there is no no one is managing that world yet. But if you notice, social media, and that's why I said it during my presentation, governments, we lost capacity because our jurisdiction is local, but the artificial intelligence and the networks are global. So the headquarters of all these, the battlefield that is X, or the battlefield that is happening in the digital world, is not managed in each of our countries. So I cannot really go even to the people working for Google or Facebook to complain there. So that's why I say I need to, and then that's why Colombia took the leadership to go to OECD, to be delegated as a vice chair, and then to raise the voice and raise exactly that is your concern. So I'm trying to move the countries on a collaboration to, okay, let's hold them accountable. We need them to make sure that they have people hired to be content moderators, but in a way that is not against freedom of speech, because there is this dilemma. No, it's just to behave. It's like when you have a disciplined person, or you are disciplining your kid. Is you cannot steal from a store. Someone needs to be there. And then what I feel that is easier, or can be scalable, is if you really can have digital identity that is trusted in the digital economy. And you need to be able to know that I'm not a hologram, that I'm a real person, that I'm not fake. And that has to be built. And the only way to build that cannot be from scratch. I think that banking system, telco system, there are some industries that already have our own data, and has to be a way that we can translate that to a trusted communication in social media.
Sounds like it might be blockchain. And sounds like it might be blockchain to do that. And also the other thing, it sounds like it's policing you're talking about, which is okay, because policing you might be talking about for this, which is to a sense,
like,
to a point is good, but not too much. So
like rules more than policing is rules.
Yeah.
We cannot yell at everyone.
okay,
We cannot just go and just be against someone and then have a
Yeah.
robot do this forever for someone. That is
Yeah.
harassment. So this is some
it's a fine balance to do that right. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, my question was also about hallucination. So, AI can think up something that doesn't make sense because it seems to make sense, and that's less and less probable these days, but it still is occurring. So when you have large systems that's relying too much on AI, and that's why I think Gain said you have both a human factor in there to where you're monitoring it and not letting AI do what it wants. And again, that leads into the second question about ethics. Okay, I saw something that you had something with the UN about ethics with AI. Can you speak a little bit on that, if you don't mind? Gayan?
Is this question for Gayan now from UNDP? Yes.
UNDP, because it looks like it's.
He's still here. I see.
I'm
he's
still here. I'm happy to answer that question. In fact, that's such a loaded question, David, because there are several layers to this. One is obviously in our assessments and when working with governments, we ensure the ethics that you saw in the AI readiness assessment are at the core of what they are deploying. So, but one thing is advising governments on ethical deployment, but I said it's a multi-layered issue, because then you need governance of it. You need the monitoring, whether the system was implemented maybe for a specific reason, but then it might have moved in a totally different direction as well. And we are seeing, and Lena touched on an important point, which is trust as well. The other problem, you might trust the current government. The current government might deploy something with good intentions, with ethics in place, but governments themselves have a shelf life, right? They are attached to the electoral cycle. So what are the guarantees that the next government, or a military coup or something like that, where the government is changed and the next government has completely different intentions? So this is a multi-layered question where we have to address some like strengthening local institutions, and this is where UNDP's work on core governance issues comes into play. It becomes more important as well to set up structures, set up mechanisms that goes beyond the government into bringing in other players like civil society, like private sector, into these governance councils as well. So it has a longer life. And the other issue is societal level awareness. Lena raised this question as well. We are moving into an era where it only takes 20 seconds to replicate someone's voice. So imagine my son, I post something cute on Facebook where my son is speaking, and the next thing I know, 1 month down the line, me getting a call saying, "Daddy, I'm in trouble, send me some money." And I won't be able to my emotions won't be able to distinguish between AI and my son's real voice. So you need societal level awareness to tackle this as well. So it's a trust problem, it's a governance problem, it's also a societal level awareness problem for me.
Yeah, thank you. We have Steve, and after Steve, we have to move to our next speaker, my good colleague from Bangladesh. But Steve, please.
I'll be very short. On this identity issue, my thinking on it is that it's not going to be possible to have one uniform global standard for identity, that we're going to have to deal with a patchwork system that evolves over time, and that's just the way it is. It's too complicated and the standards vary too much. But if we take that approach, then bit by bit, we'll get to where we want to be with respect to checking identity and trusting identity across the globe. But we're going to have to accept partial solutions that evolve, as I say, in a patchwork or a patchwork quilt kind of fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And I hear Anir, our next speaker, has a hands-on. So maybe you want to intervene and then start with your part on AI for.
Lily, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Gayan, excellent presentation. I covered a lot of ground, from the practical to the ethical and the mythical, maybe also. We have to see how AI is moving so quickly. Nelly, I'm just remembering a comment that Vilas, the CEO of McGovern Foundation, made in Slovenia, the UNESCO AI conference that we were just both at recently. And he talked about potentially emergence of new types of institutions that have to govern AI. So who governs AI today? If you think about it, nobody governs AI. I mean, it's the big techs who have developed the technology, have invested billions over the last decade or so, maybe even longer, who actually are reaping the benefits of AI and making it very commonplace. As Gayan mentioned, we are using AI, whether we like it or not, whether we know it or not, we're using it every single day in our devices. And the bad sides of AI are also emerging fairly quickly. So there are two camps growing, the AI proponents and the people who are actually very scared of AI in government, in academia, in private sector, everywhere. So he talked about a new, potentially new type of institution. And I just thought I should bring this up, because that may have to happen actually. I guess traditional regulatory mechanism may not work. The way we regulate banking or telcos or any kind of institution that need regulation, AI may not be regulated that way. So I just wanted to throw that as a food for thought. I don't have an answer, but I think that Vilas made a very good point on this.
Yes, if we have time at the end of we'll maybe also summarize some of these points that were also discussed at UNESCO and other elsewhere. But please, Anir, you can now, I believe, continue.
It's my turn. Okay.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Sure. We're probably running a little late, right? So how much time do I have, Nelly, so that I can pace myself?
I see around 10-15 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. Okay.
So maybe 10
So
minutes.
I have a bunch of slides. What I will do is, yeah, in the interest of time, and also so that we can have discussion more than monologue, I'll go over the slides and then I'll share them. I will not ponder on many slides. I'll just probably flip them very quickly. I'm trying to, yeah. Can you see the slides?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. Now, let me start with a study that we did in 2019, just about 5 years ago. where we looked at the impact of fourth industrial revolution technologies and AI mostly on a number of sectors. RMG, which is 84% of our exports today, emerging sectors such as furniture, agro-food, leather, and tourism. And we saw the prediction in Bangladesh was that we would lose about 5.5 million jobs. But interestingly, 10 million new jobs would be created if we can create the right skills. Otherwise, we would not actually have these jobs. So AI in 2019 was a threat, and the policymakers were very worried because AI was taking away jobs, AI, robotics, automation, industrial automation. We have a very large ready-made garments industry, as you know, about 4 million women, over 4 million women work there. And we have been seeing job cuts to the tune of maybe 500,000 or so in the last few years. But the industry is growing. So industry is making much more money than it did before. But AI is taking up those jobs. In 2020, when COVID happened, we saw some of the usefulness of AI. And then ChatGPT, a year and a half ago, created the momentum for adoption of AI. So let me talk about what happened during COVID. In a country of 170 million people or so, we had only one RT-PCR lab in 2020, middle of 2020. And we were scared. We didn't know where the disease was progressing the fastest in the country, where we would put lockdown. The country was locked down for about 9 weeks straight. And then we had periodic lockdowns of specific regions or the entire country. Schools were closed for about 18 months straight because we didn't have the labs to give us data. So what we did at that time was that in lieu of real data, we used proxy data. We asked people to self-report symptoms in our national hotline called 333. And we use that self-reported data using AI to actually clean up the data and find out where the disease concentration was. And that's how we managed the disease for about 4 months plus while we build the RT-PCR lab. So that's when the policymakers started feeling that AI could be useful. It's not just a threat. And that's when, starting 2021, we had the cabinet secretary lead a team. Cabinet secretary is the head of civil service. We have about 2.3 million civil servants in the country. It's almost as large as some countries even. So he led that effort. We went to about 300 or so agencies in the next 1 year plus up until 2022. And identified where AI could really be useful. So we didn't develop a policy, we developed a guideline. This policy would take too long and we didn't know enough. But what we did was we identified quick wins using AI in every of these 300 agencies, generated about 1,000 ideas. 50 of them have actually been launched in different ways. One you can look at is we are looking at dengue prediction using AI. This is basically predictive AI that we're using. We've been using AI with Google. We've given Google about 10 years of water data to predict floods better. So that's something we started 3 years ago, and the flood prediction is actually getting better and better with Google's intervention, with Google's AI. And this is also being done in India as well. So these two countries started this. And we're now talking about lightning prediction, potentially flash flood prediction, which are much more difficult to do. Interestingly, we're working with an organization in New York called GiveDirectly, which has proven that cell phone usage data can be a good proxy for poverty status. And as poverty status changes in many communities because of job losses that we saw during COVID, or because of floods that happen every year in Bangladesh. And the household data that we get, household surveys that we do are typically every 5 to 10 years. So things could change drastically. So GiveDirectly is doing a research right now that they did in Togo, and they proved conclusively in Togo that using people's cell phone usage data and massaging that with AI gives us a good predictor of their poverty status. So we're trying to do that in Bangladesh, and if it's successful, this would be a remarkable breakthrough that we can actually do almost real-time tracking of poverty, thereby improving targeting of social safety nets. About 15% of our national budget goes into social safety nets, going to about 30 million people. So it's a huge deal for us. And we want to reduce inclusion error and exclusion error, both. So this may help us. We don't have the data, the conclusion yet, but hopefully in the next few months we will know that. And combine this with the Google prediction of floods and people's poverty status and recent work that Red Cross is doing for anticipatory action, where we are actually supporting people in need before the event actually happens, before the floods happen. Oxford shows that if we can do that, if we can actually do anticipatory action, resilience goes up by about 30%. So if we can combine Google's AI, GiveDirectly's AI that came from Berkeley, and the anticipatory action of Red Cross, if we can combine that, we can send the right help to the right household before the event happens. So see how powerful that can become using AI. Now, let me take a step back and talk about digital divide a little bit. We have been studying digital divide in Bangladesh for the last year and a half, and this report that we published during last UNGA in September, and Maylin was very kindly making a statement there, almost missing her flight on that day, 25th September. We looked at three things, and this was led by Dr. Selim Jahan, who used to run UNDP's Human Development Report for many years. We looked at three things. We looked at access, meaningful connectivity, not just any kind of connectivity that's affordable, connectivity that's reliable and high speed, digital capability of people. And now we are actually exploring whether AI literacy is going to be part of digital literacy because it's becoming that important, and design of services in health and education. So often we have seen that services are not designed for the marginalized communities that you see on the right side of the slide, for women, for disabled persons with disabilities, for the extreme poor, and the cottage, micro, and the small medium enterprises. So those are the things that we're looking at across the board, and we're finding very interesting findings in that report. And tied to that is the issue of information and power asymmetry that is inherent in societies. Often digital incorporation actually worsens that asymmetry instead of bridging digital divide. So these are some of the things that we're looking at. And with that in mind, we are designing our digital public infrastructure layers. So 5 layers, some of you have already seen this slide. The ID layer at the very bottom, we just had a discussion about ID. Payments layer, again, fraud can happen in payments as well. Data layer, so data sharing across different platforms, across ministries, and between public and private sectors. The services layer, which is where the discussion starts. You see the services at the top, the different layers of services. And the access layer, which is how citizens access the digital world, the digital services. In Bangladesh, we have 4 types of access. The smartphones, about 52% of the people. Internet, about 70% of the people. Call center, our 333 solution, where people can call in with feature phones, where we're also adding AI. And digital centers, about 9,000 digital centers now, soon to be about 50,000. We just partnered with the private sector organization that will take this to 50,000. So that right now we have 5 kilometers. Within 5 kilometers, there's a digital center where people can go in and access a digital service, even if they don't have access from their homes or offices or schools. So digital centers exist, and that expansion is also happening. So these are the 5 layers that we are actually using to build our digital public infrastructure. And AI is being embedded across all these service sectors and across all the different 5 layers: ID, payments, data, services, and access. I'll give a few examples. Within our MyGov portal, which has about 2,000 services under one umbrella, mygov.bd, we have introduced AI to actually do more intelligent searches, including voice-based searches. We repurposed, as I mentioned, our 333 national helpline multiple times. So during COVID, we actually saw millions of people calling in. This became the largest telemedicine service in the country. We had millions of people calling in for emergency food service, and this continues now even when there are floods beyond COVID as well. We're also seeing emergence of this to support to actually curb social ills, such as child marriages. So 10,000 child marriages have been stopped when people have called in and reported a child marriage taking place. And we send administrators within half an hour to an hour of that call. So we are actually now introducing AI to not replace, but augment our human operators. So we've been running this service since 2018 with human operators. In 2023, just about 6 months ago, we introduced chatbots and voice bots. And right now, it's very interesting. About 30% of the calls are actually being supported by voice bots. Our Honorable Prime Minister launched 4 AI-enabled DPIs, one for education, which is the continuous assessment system, moving from summative to formative assessment in the country. So that's a massive paradigm shift in our education system. A smart pregnancy monitoring, where data from pregnant women come through wearable computing to basically change the visit schedules of the healthcare workers from the government. We have introduced a trade license system where AI is playing a role to make it smarter. Trade licenses are basic business documentation for any business that needs to start in the country. ACPAS is a toll collection system that is being used in only a couple of places in the country as a pilot, but it will be expanded to all roads and highways and bridges across the country. We are looking at a meeting minutes generator in Bangla, the local language, and we have had some success with it. But this will actually, we have in every office, we have many meetings every day. So we have 52,000 offices of the government. So just think about the number of meetings that are held every day, potentially 100,000 plus meetings. So if we can actually generate meeting minutes, that will save countless hours within the government. So we're looking at technology for that. We're working on an IP search system with AI. In agriculture, we are testing grain integrity and nutritional value using images. We're using AI for safety enhancement in railway systems. Lastly, what I would just touch on very quickly in about a minute or so is that after about 5 years of AI experimentation in the government, generating about 1,000 or so ideas for different service sectors, about 300 institutions, 200 agencies. Now we are working on a national AI policy. We feel that now we are ready to actually launch a policy. We have drafted it. The key principles, many of these are taken from the UN system, from UNDP, UNESCO, UNICEF, to be very specific. And Gayan already talked about some of these things: equality, fairness issues, transparency issues, safety, security, partnership, collaboration, and human-centered AI. So AI that is actually human-centered. So we are actually, these are the 6 principles that drive the policy. I'll skip some of these things. About 10 sectors that we're looking at: public services, agriculture, education, climate change, smart cities, healthcare, manufacturing, finance, telecoms, and science, technology, research, and innovation. These are the 10 sectors. And these are, there are slides to cover all these 10 sectors, which I will circulate. I won't go into the details of that. These are the things that I'm actually, that we're covering in the AI policy. So my request at the end would be to, if anybody is interested, to review the AI policy that's in draft form. It will go to the cabinet very soon. So if you have any time to spend to just review it and provide some feedback, we'll be eternally grateful. I'll stop there, Nelly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anir. We are not yet at that open end of our process. It's our third AI action plan and strategy, so still in the internal consultations, but definitely we will look what you have what you have in mind for the coming years. But we have a few minutes if somebody has a question to Anir before we go to our final presentation today, and we will hear what Singapore has in mind for the AI for the future. But
So I will just go ahead and yeah, when we first met at WSIS, I just knew Bangladesh was doing amazing things, and I feel very lucky to have caught you back then and be tracking the journey of Bangladesh for all this last 5 years. It's amazing. And I just wanted you to say a few words about the progress that you're doing towards the goal of being a middle income country and zero digital divide.
Thank you, Marian. I mean, you've always guided us in the last few years. Thank you for that. And also, thank you for coming to the country's first international AI and DPI conference in October. That generated, as you know, that we put it together very, very quickly within 2.5 weeks, but generated a lot of interest and a lot of momentum in the country and also globally. The zero digital divide idea, targeting 2041, to become a high-income country. So one of the things that we have aspiration for is to become a high-income country, but also an equitably distributed high-income country. So not the high income that we see in many countries where digital actually creates the uber elites, maybe the 2% or the 1%. So per capita GDP goes up because you have billionaires, but you also have a significant segment of the population that are left out, that are actually even further marginalized. And AI can accelerate that process, accelerate that digital divide. So we hope to do things in a very conscious way as we introduce technology to improve public service delivery across all sectors, and AI to be even more specific. We want to make sure that we don't introduce bias so that the marginalized become even more marginalized. We use technology in a very ethical and responsible manner so that wealth creation is as equitably distributed as possible. So that's our vision for zero digital divide by 2041, tied in with our aspiration to become a high-income country. We've already achieved the middle income status from an LDC, from a low-income country. When we started our journey of digital Bangladesh in 2008, our per capita income was about $650. Right now, it's about 3,000. So it's in the last 15 years or so, we've made massive progress. But the next leap from middle income, from 3,000 to 12,500, which is today's dollar term, that's going to be much more ambitious, and we have to make very judicious choices. Thank you, Milind.
thank you, Anir. And the good news is we will meet next week in DC. I
Yes.
got to know. So see you soon, and we can continue this discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Lawrence Liu will tell us all the grand plans of Singapore. So please.
Hi, yes, thanks for inviting me to share. I assume you can hear me. So I'll just very quickly go through the slides. I won't go through all the slides in detail because I think we are coming up to 12 or 1 o'clock. So I'm from Singapore. I'm director in AI Singapore, responsible for the AI innovation pillar. AI Singapore is Singapore's national R&D program for AI. And here we try to encourage the adoption of AI, the accelerated adoption of AI by SMEs, and growing the AI talent. So we have multiple programs that drive this, for research, for organizations, and for the local talents. So in innovation, which I drive, it's all about getting industries to adopt AI, and industries actually also includes the government sector. So it's really great to hear the very interesting projects that Bangladesh has done. So for us, through what we call the 100 experiments, we will co-fund, co-create solutions for the industries, and companies that work with us includes people like IBM, Sompo, GIC, HP, and smaller Singapore-based companies like QNM, which is a dental company. And all these projects are typically deployed, completed in 7 months, up to an MVP stage and handed over to the companies. So we are housed in the university. We don't go into production deployment. We basically get an AI project to MVP state. Now, what's really interesting is the way we go about it. Every project that we do is an opportunity to train Singaporeans to deepen their skills in AI. And as you know, everyone here is aware, there is a lack of AI talent all over. So I will share how we have actually managed to twin these two programs together. One is called the 100 experiments. And over here, you will see over the last 6 years, we have engaged about 800 companies. We have approved nearly 140 projects to date and actually completed about 80 of them, cutting across different sectors. And the apprenticeship program, which is how we train Singaporeans, is closely twined to this 100 experiments. So for every project that we approved, where the Singapore government, through AI Singapore, will contribute $180,000, the company must match this also, all right? It's a one-to-one match. And for every project, we will assign 1 to 2 AI engineers, including 3 to 6 apprentices to work on the project full-time. And these apprentices are not what you would assume them to be. They are not students. These are actually working professionals who quit their jobs to come in to deepen their skills in AI. And the apprenticeship program is very competitive. Like we are actually running recruitment for batch 16 at this point in time. We have about 450 Singaporeans who have applied. And of that, only about 10% or less will make it through or get selected to become an apprentice. So they will actually have to quit their jobs to come in. And when they are in, we actually pay them a stipend of 3.5 to 5.5K a month. This team will undergo a 2 months deep skilling, but following that, they will actually work on the project for 7 months. The profile of these apprentices are very interesting. This is a snapshot of office. These are our engineers and apprentices working side by side together. And one of the things that we decided very early on, back in 2017, was that the apprentices would only be Singaporeans, because this is a very expensive program, and therefore we can only fund Singaporeans to do this. 2, they have to pass a technical assessment. That's it. I don't look at what degree they have or anything like that. A lot of companies, a lot of organizations keep thinking, and even up to today, right? To do AI, you need to have a computer science degree. That's a fallacy. Actually, only 20% of our apprentice actually comes from a computer science background. 80% comes from the sciences, engineering, the social science, accountancy, and so on and so forth. And actually, all of them are doing very, very well as AI engineers, data scientists, after they complete our program. So we have done 15 batches. We're recruiting batch 16 now. And every time we'll get between 200 to 400 applicants, and about 8 to 10% will make it through every time. One of the things that we do very differently from a lot of boot camps is that when these people are in during the deep skilling phase, we will actually not only train them or give them additional or deepen their skills in AI, but we also focus very much on software engineering and ML ops for very simple reasons, because only 20% of them come from a computer science background. The 80% could be accountants, could be lawyers, and all self-taught Python programmers, AI, ML, but naturally, when they go online to learn, they'll be learning about algorithms. They will have never thought of the importance of building applications into containers. They will have no idea what a container is, or how to expose the AI model in the form of an API. So that's what we make sure that they know during the first 2 months. And with that, the 7 months project, this is a very typical timeline. All projects have to be done in 7 months because they're only with us for 9. First 2 months is all about understanding the data, the domain, and then we'll start building out the first initial baseline model, and then we'll build a whole end-to-end CI/CD pipeline, and we continue to iterate and finally hand over the projects to the project sponsors. So when I started AI Singapore, I only had 4 engineers. Today, I have about 50 to 60 engineers, and nearly 95 or 99% probably of them came through the apprenticeship program. There was no way a Singapore government-funded program hosted within a university would be able to compete in the industry for experienced AI engineers. And especially in Singapore, it's just not possible because we have the Google, the Microsoft, the Facebook, you name it, the big techs are here. So the top graduates are going to join these companies, and that's very hard for me to find experienced engineers. So back then, we had an intuition, which was hey, we think there's enough Singaporeans who are learning on their own, but they are not hired by all these organizations because these organizations do not know how to hire them. They don't have AI degree. They don't have AI experience. But we felt that it was not necessary as long as they have self-taught themselves. They don't really need a computer science degree, and with good training, with domain knowledge, they can actually become very, very good AI engineers. So with that, we launched the apprenticeship program. And today, our engineers, our apprentices, typically get 2 to 3 job offers even before they finish the program. So through the apprenticeship program, I've managed to build an AI engineering team. I don't have the budget to hire all 300 of them. If I had, yes, I would have probably Singapore's largest AI team. But I only have budget for 50. So over the time, and it's also very interesting hearing the discussion, right? About AI literacy and so on. Yes, so back in 2017, we created AI for Everyone, which was a 3-hour session, and today it's online. It's 1.5 hours. The whole idea is really to demystify AI, and I really needed to do this, and this was not a requirement from the government. The government only asked me to do 100 AI projects. I needed to do AI for everyone because when I was talking to the SMEs, there was a lot of misunderstanding and fear of AI. So AI for Everyone was a way for me to actually demystify AI and meet my KPI targets. So AI for Everyone was the first, and we continue to launch other programs targeting working professionals who really want to cross into become, what we will call a more AI aware professional. And we also went back down the chain to make sure that our students from primary school to secondary schools were exposed to AI. So we created AI for students, AI for kids, and so on. And AI for Everyone has also been adopted by all the schools in Singapore as a foundational knowledge. And also the Singapore government has also licensed the AI for Everyone for all their officers that join the service. And Mei Ling also mentioned about this AI Readiness Index. Again, we created this because we were getting so many inquiries from the SMEs that we needed a way to filter them. As a government-funded program, I cannot say, no, we don't want to meet you, we don't want to see you. We have to. But with the AI Readiness Index, we could actually say, hey, Mr. SME, can you do this so that we know where you are in terms of your AI maturity, and therefore we can recommend the right intervention. So with 12 questions that they only need about 10 minutes to do, we are able to classify them into unaware, aware, ready, or competent. And the whole idea is we want, for the 100E program, we can only work with companies who are AI ready. And if the company is unaware, we basically say, hey, go and do the AI for everyone program and data analytics for everyone and so on. And the intent here is to get if I can get 90% of my SMEs to go from unaware to aware, when we say aware, it means that they are a smart consumer of AI solutions. They are not going to build an AI team. They're just going to buy. Then I think we have done our job. And maybe 10% will move on to become AI ready, and maybe out of that, another 10% will become AI competent. And due to requests from other organizations and countries, we have actually created this area as a service, which people can just come and within 5 minutes can actually set up this AI Readiness Index to actually do a survey among their members and so on and so forth. And as mentioned by Mei-Ling, we have also contributed ARI to the GPay. I co-chair the Innovation and Commercialization Working Group. And not only is ARI in there, but also the AI for SME portal that we built. So this has been launched in Poland, Singapore, France, Germany, and Serbia will be having the portal up actually this 1 or 2 months. So we have also productized our knowledge into handbooks that we share with countries and organizations. So countries that have approached us and we have actually done train the trainer would include countries like Egypt, Malaysia, and I think within the next couple of months, we'll have another 2 Middle East countries and 1 EU country coming to license our 100E and AIP programs and AI for everyone. So I'll stop here. This is my last slide. This is really a snapshot of all the programs that we have. We started with the 100E. I created the apprenticeship program because I needed engineers. And then we created the Learn AI program because we wanted to make sure that AI literacy was pervasive throughout all the working professionals and the students and creating an AI aware workforce. And post 100E, we have other programs to continue to support the SMEs, and also because we want to share our experience and knowledge. We have created programs that allow us to share the programs internationally. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. I know that we have 1 minute, and I also know that Mei-Ling had a question to you. So Mei-Ling, if you think we can manage 30 seconds question, 30 seconds answer.
Okay,
So
so
I leave it to you.
Great. My question is about the AI for SMEs. I think a lot of you know that I'm very, very interested in how SMEs can get digitized. What is Singapore doing to help the rest of the world take advantage of the AI for SME program?
Well, the AI for SME is something that we are doing in GPay, right? And therefore, I think, unfortunately, there's only about 30 member countries. So, and the GPay mandate is that, and the governance is that we can only share that with the GPay member countries. So hopefully, there's some reorg happening. Hopefully, we'll have more member countries, under whichever organization. And we can share. Again, this AI for SME is a portal, but you don't really need our portal to implement that. Our recommendation paper is public, and you can easily re-engineer the portal from the recommendation paper. Yeah, it's not difficult.
Yes, thank you, Lawrence, and thank you, everybody. There is quite a bit of work on AI that we all needed, and I'm really glad to hear about the SME program, which has also been quite a bit in the focus here in Estonia, because it's not that easy. All our companies are SMEs, even the bigger ones, how to get them on board. So thank you again, Lawrence and everybody. And we are 1 minute over time. I thank you, everybody, and see you soon. If not before, then in our next meeting. But I know that some of you I have a pleasure to meet in between. And thanks to Maylin and everybody else who makes this happen. Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
presentations. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you.